Rated M for mature.
People make some pretty questionable choices when the dead come back to life. Here are the survival strategies that never pay off.
Dashed low on ammo.
You've heard of the fight or flight response, I suppose. An innate T-junction on the superhighway of neurons that controls our behaviour, channeling all our energy towards either dealing with a threat by confronting it, or, let me just consult my scientific literature here for the terminology, doing a legger. There's no telling how any one of us will react to a survival situation, whose brains will prompt them to take arms and whose will have them take flight. But in the case of anyone in a zombie apocalypse like Zombie Army 4's, there's a third option to consider. A cul-de-sac of poorly conceived problem solving which NPCs and players alike find themselves in. And it's here, down on What on Earth Were You Thinking Crescent, that we're spending this video. Take heed of these very silly strategies for survival and see that you never replicate them should the zombies turn up. Let's just take a second to highlight that enticing red subscribe button down there. Never a bad decision to hit that while you're on this channel. Now then, some silly stuff. First on our list of nincompoopery in the face of danger is the widespread practice of scrawling on things like an opportunistic Banksy at the first sign of reanimated corpse. We see this all the time, don't we? You know, safe room logos, warnings written on walls, the odd creepy message that hints at a dark scene taking place here once. We see them and we go, safe room ahead then. Or, probably something bad coming up. And then we carry on. But think about what it took to put those messages there in the first place. I mean, look at this one. They obviously spent some time on the lettering. If you want an indication of how effective this little survival technique is for the scribe themselves, when have you ever, within Zombie Army 4 or beyond it, met one of these people who've written these messages later on in the game? Number 2 now, and we're moving our gaze away from the NPCs and their questionable decision making and placing it squarely at ourselves. It happens all the time, this one, and somehow we never learn. The age-old trap that is overcautious medkit usage. Let's pinpoint the exact scenario. You've just got out of one choke point, and even though it wasn't very hard, you weren't really concentrating on it and a few errant limbs clipped you. Moving through the next quiet bit, you're now at about 40% health. But it's a 40% you don't really want to acknowledge because nothing big happened to knock it down from a full health bar in the first place. So even though you've got a medkit just sitting there in your inventory, practically licking its lips, you decide to keep it, don't you? Until you really need it. Inevitably, when you really need it is also when you don't have 5 seconds free to take a knee and make the magical, vague bandaging gestures that cure all ailments. So you either sprint off somewhere to buy some space and instead get killed, or risk dealing with the zombs around you and get killed, or get caught somewhere in between doing both and get killed. Killed, killed, killed. And so, another player goes to people who had perfectly good medkits on them but died anyway, heaven. So, NPCs and players are just as guilty of foolish calls in the heat of the moment. But the next entry on our list isn't about being silly under pressure. It requires a level of premeditation that frankly makes us wonder if these people actually want to survive the dead war at all. Why, oh why, has somebody put life-saving resources in here? Zombie Army 4's friendlies aren't the first to do it. You can trace the lineage of demented MacGyvers right back to Raccoon City PD's filing system in Resident Evil 2, but the sheer inventiveness and improbable consideration for entertaining passers-by exhibited by whoever made this puzzle is staggering. Picture this scene.
Bad news, Rog. We got in a running race with the Horde and they won. Tina's bitten. We need those supplies you've been keeping.
Yep, no problem. You just need to solve this puzzle inspired by Stranger Things.
What?
The puzzle, you've got to solve the puzzle for. I put them behind this puzzle where you shoot the words in the right order and.
We're bleeding out, man. What is wrong with you?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And that, everyone, is why you don't store healthcare items behind convoluted mechanisms that require logic puzzles or feats of skill to operate. Next on our list, a decision that's right up there with splitting up to look for a murderer or having sex in a log cabin where a massacre took place 20 years ago to the day. Number 4 is hunkering down and waiting for the protagonist or protagonists to arrive and save them. For starters, why? Just honestly, why have you ended up in this tiny hut surrounded by things that want to taste you, you two? Because you heard the protagonists might be swinging by this overrun train yard and you just thought that waiting for them to turn up and save you as part of an optional objective would be better than just legging it or fighting them off yourself? And you might be watching this video and thinking, well, fair enough, I did actually save those two, so it worked out for them. But think of the numbers game. How many of us didn't save them in our playthroughs? Think how many of us didn't even try. Think about the NPCs you didn't spot in subsequent areas, who then became chow. No, sitting in claustrophobic little areas and waiting for us all-powerful players to rock up just isn't smart.
Appreciate it. Wait till it's safe, then get out of here.
There we are then. Avoid doing those things in a zombie apocalypse and you might still die, but at least you'll die with a bit of dignity. As always, thanks for watching and leave us a like if you had fun during this vid. Remember to subscribe to us and turn on notifications to make sure you don't miss any future content from us, and we'll catch you in another one.